I had flown into Seattle for a 3-day work conference back in November of last year. My flight had already been delayed twice because of heavy rain, and by the time I finally landed, it was a little after 11:30 at night. I was exhausted. The kind of exhausted where you stop caring about everything except getting into bed as fast as possible. The hotel my company booked for me was about 20 minutes from the airport. Nothing fancy, just one of those modern business hotels near the highway. Bright lobby, quiet atmosphere, a couple sitting near the entrance, one receptionist behind the front desk. Everything completely normal. I checked in, grabbed my room key card, and headed toward the elevator. My room was on the 7th floor, room 714. I remember that number very clearly, because after that night, I don't think I'll ever forget it. When I stepped out of the elevator, the entire floor was dead silent. No TVs playing from nearby rooms. No footsteps. No distant conversations. Just silence. The kind that somehow feels heavier than normal. I remember thinking it was strange for a hotel that looked pretty busy downstairs. Still, I didn't think much of it. I walked down the hallway, found room 714, and tapped the key card. Green light. The lock clicked open. I stepped inside. The room looked perfectly normal. Suitcase rack near the entrance. Bathroom to the right. King-sized bed facing a television mounted on the wall. The air conditioning was already running, filling the room with that constant low humming sound hotels always have. I dropped my backpack near the desk, locked the door behind me, then immediately collapsed onto the bed. For maybe 5 minutes, I just laid there staring at the ceiling. I remember hearing rain hitting the window outside. Everything felt calm, quiet, safe. Then I heard it, a sound. Very faint, but close. It was so quiet I almost thought I imagined it. I sat up immediately and listened. Nothing. I looked around the room. Bathroom door still open, closet door shut, TV off, no movement anywhere. After a few seconds, I just assumed it was probably the AC unit making weird noises. So I laid back down. About 10 seconds later, I heard it again. This time, I knew I wasn't imagining it. It sounded mechanical, like plastic hitting something. Small, sharp, and somewhere inside the room. I sat there staring straight ahead, completely still, trying to figure out where it had come from. Then suddenly I heard something else. A slow dragging sound from the bathroom. At that exact moment, every bit of exhaustion I'd felt disappeared. My entire body tensed up instantly. I remember just staring at the bathroom entrance, waiting. The light inside was still on. I could see the sink, the mirror, half of the shower curtain, nothing moving. But I knew I heard something. I know I did. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand, opened the camera, and slowly pointed it toward the bathroom. I don't even know why. Instinct, maybe. I stood up, heart pounding so hard I could actually hear it, and I started walking forward. Slowly, one step at a time, closer, closer, until I was standing right outside the bathroom entrance. I reached forward, grabbed the shower curtain, and pulled it open. Nothing. Completely empty. I actually laughed out loud. That nervous kind of laugh your body makes when it realizes the danger isn't real. I remember shaking my head, thinking I was being ridiculous. I turned around, started walking back toward the bed, and then froze. The closet door was open. I swear on my life, that closet had been shut the entire time. I noticed it when I first walked in. I know I did. And now it was open maybe 3 inches, just enough to see darkness inside. I stood there staring at it, not moving, trying to convince myself I had somehow left it open earlier. Maybe I didn't notice. Maybe I forgot. But deep down, I already knew something was wrong. Very wrong. Because then, from inside the closet, I heard breathing. Heavy breathing. Slow. Controlled. Like someone had been standing there, listening to me the entire time. I backed away immediately, almost dropped my phone. I remember whispering, "What the hell?" And right then, the closet door moved, slowly, opening wider, just a little, and I saw it. A hand, someone's hand, wrapped around the inside edge of the door. I ran. I didn't think, didn't grab my bag, didn't grab anything. I unlocked the room and sprinted straight toward the elevator. I got downstairs and practically yelled at the receptionist to call the police. At first, she looked confused. Then security went upstairs with officers about 15 minutes later. I stayed in the lobby the entire time. Couldn't stop shaking. Couldn't even sit down. Eventually, one of the officers came back and asked me one question. A question that made my stomach drop instantly. He said, "Sir, are you sure your door was locked when you entered?" Apparently, inside the closet, they found a man. Homeless, early 40s, no identification, no belongings, no explanation for how he got in there. And according to hotel security footage, he had entered that room almost 3 hours before I checked in. I never found out why he was hiding there or what he planned to do once I fell asleep. And honestly, I don't think I want to know. This happened 3 summers ago when I was driving across Arizona during a solo road trip. I had spent almost the entire day on the highway, the kind of drive where after 8 straight hours, every gas station starts looking the same, and you stop paying attention to where you even are. By the time the sun had gone down, I was somewhere outside Flagstaff, completely exhausted. I wasn't planning to stop there originally, but I knew I couldn't keep driving safely, so I pulled over and started searching for the nearest hotel. About 10 minutes later, I found this small roadside hotel sitting right off the interstate. Nothing special, just a 2-story building with faded beige walls, a flickering vacancy sign, and maybe 15 parking spots out front. It looked old, but clean enough. At that point, I didn't care. I just wanted sleep. I parked, grabbed my backpack, and headed inside. The lobby felt strangely quiet. No music playing, no television, no other guests sitting around. Just an older woman behind the front desk reading a magazine. She barely looked up when I walked in. I told her I needed a room for one night. She nodded silently, typed something into the computer, then handed me a key card. Not a modern card either. One of those older plastic cards with the room number written directly on it in black marker. Room 12, ground floor, around the back side of the building. I remember joking and asking if I was the only person staying there tonight. I don't know why I asked. Probably because the place felt weirdly empty. She looked up at me for maybe 2 seconds, then said, "As far as I know." Something about the way she said it felt strange, flat, emotionless, but honestly, I was too tired to care. I thanked her and walked outside. Room 12 was tucked near the very end of the building, away from the parking lot, away from the main road. The hallway light above the door kept flickering every few seconds. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The room smelled old, like dust and cleaning chemicals. Small TV mounted in the corner, bathroom directly ahead, single queen-sized bed against the far wall. Nothing unusual. I locked the door, dropped my bag beside the dresser, set an alarm for 7 a.m., and within minutes, I was asleep. I don't know exactly what woke me up. At first, I thought it was part of a dream, but then I heard it again. A sharp electronic beep, very quiet, but unmistakable. My eyes opened immediately. The room was completely dark. The digital clock near the bed was glowing faint red, 2:43 a.m. For a second, I just stared at the ceiling, still half asleep, trying to figure out what that sound was. Then, I heard it again. And that's when I realized where the sound was coming from. The door lock. That exact moment, every bit of sleep left my body instantly. I turned my head slowly toward the entrance, barely able to make out the shape of the door in the darkness, and then I heard it. The sound of the lock disengaging. The door began opening, slowly, very slowly, without a single sound. Just enough for a strip of pale yellow light from outside to cut across the floor. I remember not moving, not breathing, completely frozen, trying to convince myself my brain was still half dreaming. Then a figure stepped inside. I couldn't make out a face, just the outline of a man. Tall, broad shoulders, standing perfectly still near the doorway. And the strangest part, he wasn't looking around the room. He was looking directly at me, like he already knew exactly where I was. I wanted to move. I wanted to say something, but my entire body locked up. It felt like every survival instinct in my brain was screaming at me to stay still. So I did. I didn't move a single muscle. I just stared back at this silhouette standing 6 feet away from my bed, watching me. 5 seconds passed, maybe 10. Felt like an hour. Then suddenly, the man tilted his head slightly, almost like he was checking whether I was asleep, and I realized something horrifying. He thought I still was. My heart was pounding so violently, I thought he had to hear it. I kept my eyes barely open, trying not to react, trying not to breathe too heavily. And then, very slowly, he took one step forward, closer to the bed. That was it. Something inside me snapped. I grabbed my phone off the nightstand and screamed as loud as I physically could. Not words, just screamed. Pure instinct. The man immediately stumbled backward, turned, and sprinted out of the room. The door slammed so hard it shook the wall beside me. I jumped out of bed and locked the door immediately. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely turn the deadbolt. I grabbed my bag, ran straight back to the lobby, nearly slipping on the pavement outside. The woman at the front desk was gone. Completely gone. No one behind the desk. No sign of anybody anywhere. The lobby lights were still on, but the entire place was empty. I called the police. They arrived maybe 20 minutes later. I explained everything. They checked security cameras around the property, checked the parking lot, searched nearby rooms. Nothing. No sign of anyone entering. No sign of anyone leaving. No forced entry. Nothing. I asked the officer how somebody could have opened my room. I know for a fact I locked that door. I watched him look over at the manager who had finally arrived, then back at me. And he said something I still think about to this day. This hotel still uses old master key cards. Anyone working here can access every room. I immediately looked toward the front desk, at the woman standing there now. Same blank expression, same emotionless stare, watching me, not saying a single word. I left right there. Didn't wait for sunrise. Didn't ask for a refund. Didn't ask questions. I got in my car and drove another 3 hours through the middle of the night. And sometimes, I still think about one thing. Not the man who entered the room. Not the fact somebody unlocked my door while I slept. Not even the possibility that hotel staff were involved. What really bothers me is wondering what would have happened if I hadn't woken up when I did. Because whoever that man was, he didn't enter quietly to steal. He came in expecting me to stay asleep.